In this video, we will learn the different types of comments in Java. Comments are the notes that a programmer writes to explain the code to other team members or even to oneself in the future. They are part of the program and are supported by the IDE editor. However, when Java compiler compiles the code, it ignores the comments. In Java, there are three types of comments. Single line comments, which is the type of comments that we are familiar with and have seen before. Multi-line comments and documentation comments, which we will learn about in this video. In a single line comment, you use the double forward slashes to mark the beginning of the comment. They can be written in separate lines before and inside the class. They can also be in line with the code to explain a line of the code. Notice that the compiler will ignore everything that comes after the double forward slashes until the end of the line. Now check that block at the top of the code. It contains multiple single line comments. This bulk of comments can be joined together in what we call the multi-line comment. To create a multi-line comment, we open it with a forward slash followed by an asterisk, then we close it with an asterisk followed by a forward slash. Anything between these opening and closing of the multi-line comments will be considered as a comment. You will find that you can also hit enter to go to a new line, and the IDE will still consider you inside that multi-line comment. A combination of single line and multi-line comments can be used to build block comments. You use block comments, which usually include other symbols like dashes, equals, and asterisks, to break the code into sections, place big markers that explain parts of the code, and so on. The last type of comments is called the documentation comment. In general, documentation is the process of creating a manual that explains your code structure and functionality. In OOP, the two things you want to explain to your code users are the classes and the methods in these classes. This way they know why and how to create objects from your class and how to use the methods to interact with these objects. So how do we do that? We can do it manually, but that can be difficult. Imagine you make a small change in one of the classes or the methods, then you need to update the documentation. Luckily, Java presents an easy way to do that. What you need to do is to place documentation comments. They work as markers to mark the parts that Java needs to include in the documentation. Then run the documentation generator, which is called JavaDoc, and it comes with the Java. JavaDoc will automatically generate the documentation for your code using your documentation comments. The documentation will be in the form of a website that can be opened from the index.html. To create a documentation comment, you need to use a forward slash followed by two asterisks to open the comment and close the comment with a single asterisk followed by the forward slash. Notice that the closing of a documentation comment matches the closing of a multi-line comment. For example, there are two fields marked with the @author and @version in the documentation comment that comes before the class. JavaDoc takes these two fields to populate the author and version in the website documentation of the code. On the other hand, the documentation comment before the main method will make sure that the main method appears in the list of methods of my class. This is a quick demo of the comments in Java. As you can see, we have the inline comments, which are the single line comments with the double forward slashes. And then we have the block comments. Now, one thing about the block comment here is that these asterisks are not part of the comment. They are actually BlueJay's way of organizing your code. So for example, here, if I create a block comment here or multi-line comment, so notice here that after putting the forward slash and the asterisk, if I hit enter, Java is going to create, or BlueJay is going to create the multi-line comment for me. Notice here that they mark each line of the multi-line comment with this extra asterisk here, but this is not part of the comment. So if I remove it, I'm still writing a multi-line comment and it's working. See, you hit enter, you keep writing as many comments as you want. All right, so that's in terms of the multi-line. Now let's go back to the part here, which includes the documentation. You will find that documentation comments are not highlighted like the two types or the other types of comments. They are highlighted in blue for BlueJ. All right, so this is slightly different from these two, because this here serves as a marker of, here is a definition of a class. This is the information that I want you to see. All right, so in this case here, what you could do is that it compiles, and then to generate the code or documentation. And what I want to do here is to show you how this is going to change the directory of your code. So I brought the directory where this code is, and if you compile, it compiles. That's fine, right? I'm running it. It doesn't do anything really. But then, um, in terms of the documentation, what you do here is that normally, if you are using a command line, you are going to type Java doc and then the name of the code or the class file, which is going to take care of the documentation. In BlueJ, since we do not deal with command line, we can go here and then you can select documentation. Notice what will happen in your directory. It's going to create the doc folder. Right, so you can browse the class documentation on your BlueJ, right, which here says it's called common demo, and it has a method called main, right? And also here, notice here it tells you the definition. The class creates a program that calculates company payroll. This class so and so, version 1.0, author is Basit Hamza, and so on. Right, now if you go to doc, you can actually browse this as a website, right? By clicking the index.html, going to open that for you, and this is where you're going to browse your documentation, the website.